It starts, this is again, we're still in chapter 1. Brothers and sisters, I am not ashamed of the gospel. Which gospel? Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John? You know, what gospel? The good news. But the good news isn't words. You know, say you like the Redskins. And I say the Redskins won. Not only would that be joy, that'd be a miracle. But the words are not good news. It's the victory that's good news. The words mean nothing if they're not bringing you this reality, this fact. So the good news is that God himself has come among us in his Son to teach us, to heal us, finally to die in an act of love, pour out his whole being and his Spirit on us, then rise and draw us to himself. That's the good news. Now, it has to be mediated through words and gestures and signs and wonders, but that's the good news. That's what he's not ashamed of. And he says, it is the power of God for the salvation of everyone who believes, for Jew first and then Greek. Power of God for salvation for everyone who believes. You have to realize the ancients, this is why you can't read these things like you read Washington Post. That's the structure of the letter right there. The good news, the act of love in which Jesus Christ died and from which flows all the hope that mankind will ever have. You see, that reality is the power of God for salvation. That's chapters 5 to 8. For everyone who believes, Jew first then Greek, that's chapters 1 to 4. For in it, in the good news, there is revealed the righteousness, the holiness, the uprightness of God from faith to faith. As it is written, the one who is righteous by faith will live, or the one who is righteous by faith will live. Because righteousness comes through faith, right? It comes by the grace of God that we are justified. The grace of God through faith. Believe. Accept the reality. Do you know that takes some work, huh? I mean, we've sort of done it. We're here, you know. But to really, you've got to stop and pray and think until the awesomeness of what God has done becomes present to you and you believe it. Now he goes on then to develop this first notion by talking of negatively first and then positively, negatively up to chapter 3, verse 20, and then starting verse 3:20, chapter 3, verse 21, positively. Then he starts talking about faith and the righteousness of God, which is what? Overlooking past sins. That's his righteousness. And so, in this gospel is revealed the righteousness of God. From faith, Old Testament, to faith, New Testament. Now he starts talking about the wrath of God is revealed. It's revealed. You need faith to see it. You wring your hands and say, oh, we're in a mess. All right. But that's not a revelation. That's just common sense. The wrath, that this is the wrath of God, which means what? It's the holiness of God which we can't stand. To walk into God's presence full of sin and see the power of that love is to be repulsed. And that's the wrath. He's not mad. He's never been mad. It's his love, the fire of that love, the insistence of that love, confronting our sinfulness. There are times when you can actually experience this. And while it's an awful experience, down deep in your heart, you're saying to yourself, Lord, please stop. But don't stop. This is very precious. It's the wrath of God. It's not his anger. It's the incompatibility between his love and sin. And this is against every impiety and wickedness of those who suppress the truth. There it is. Suppress the truth. That's the sin. Now, there are people who suppress the truth. Frightening. There are others who suppress it by just not paying any attention. They want, they got their TV, they got their games, they got their this, they got their that, but they don't ever search for God. But suppressing the truth means suppressing it, not letting it up. What truth? The truth of the goodness, beauty, existence, and love of God. The opposite of suppressing the truth is love. If you love, you don't suppress the truth about God.